Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got a little 4-game slate on Tuesday night this week, Nate. In this one, we're taking a look in the Eastern Conference. Brooklyn is in Philly, taking on the very hapless Philadelphia 76ers right now, who will be without a ton of starters. Stars out, bets up, as we say on this show. We'll talk about all those things here in a minute. Also got a couple other videos, including that game player props video up for you tonight. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great written content for you guys. All the stuff you'll need and our odds finder tool as well. So you can go ahead and use that tool to make sure that you are shopping lines across U.S. sportsbooks to the best of your ability. Nate, let's go ahead and get into this 4-game slate and then talk Philly and Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean, that is the first game up here. It will be on TV, I believe. And Sixers are +8 because at home they don't have Embiid, Maxey, Harden, or Tobias Harris. So four best players are out. Nets just got Kyrie back. And that total is at 217.5 as we speak. The other 3 games, the game we break down, Kings are right now -2.5 at Memphis. Total's around 232 there. We got some interesting angles if you want to watch that video we got up. Pistons are down to +5.5 from +7 because the Nuggets in Denver will be without Jokic again. So much less dangerous of a team. And then the Lakers are +7.5 at the Suns, who should be without Chris Paul again. So yeah, stars out, bets up. You say, I have a hard time finding conviction on either side of this line because I don't think the Nets are going to go for blood here. Possibly because this is the front end of a back-to-back for both teams, and they've got Toronto tomorrow. I don't think they're going to play KD 38 minutes, for example. I think they know they need to save a lot more for a Toronto team that's far closer to full strength. At the same time, I think Ben Simmons, this is a perfect front-runner spot for Ben Simmons to keep building his confidence. It's exactly what they've been doing the last 2 games, ramping him up. He had his best line of the season off the bench as they stunned everybody, including us, by beating Portland to end that road trip. He went 14-13-7 off the bench. Then they started him back home with Kyrie in the lineup, and he goes for 22-8-5. And I'm really intrigued at how low his props are still, because this is clearly like get ahead of the curve. Ben Simmons finally feels like he can attack again. I mean, he shot 89% from the floor in those 2 games, so it's not, almost all dunks. He's not. It's all he has to do: run the floor, take advantage of the extra attention on Kyrie and KD, and they're finding him. I mean, Royce O'Neal, has 20 assists in these last 2 games as well. The Nets starting to gel on offense. They didn't even necessarily need Kyrie to beat Memphis, but Ben Simmons is at 10.5 points, and the rebounds and assists is even more exploitable, 11.5, because he's filling it up. I mean, he's 6'10". He's gonna board a lot with the Sixers having absolutely nobody to score the basketball tonight. I mean, Shake Milton had a nice efficient game against Minnesota, kept them in within distance as the number 2 to Embiid. Now he's got to be the number 1, and Joel Embiid has been absolutely carrying this team. So you might think, oh, their offense is gonna dip and we're gonna go under. I would throw a lot of caution on that because I think their defense is going to dip even more. They've gone over in 3 of their last 4 because Embiid has been carrying that offense. But the one under, they held the Jazz to 98 points, the lighted up Jazz, because Embiid blocked 7 shots and scared probably 20 more from going in. They're 8th in points in paint points and 3rd in points overall allowed because mostly of Joel Embiid. But at home, they're allowing more paint points, and they're allowing the 8th highest percentage points off 2. So again, this just leads me to feel like Ben Simmons is going to get some really easy looks, and by looks I mean dunks tonight. Yeah. And he's going to get to flex at Philly. The crowd's going to boo him, but this is the opportunity they've been waiting for. Right, they've held him out for so long to not put him in a situation where he could be. His fragile mental health could be put on the line, where he could literally be put on the free throw line and hear all those boos. And it's just no, this is going to be a relative cakewalk. Like, you're playing backups. The Sixers shouldn't have much fight. We can just feed Ben and get this monkey off your back, that you play your old team and you put up a decent line, and now you can just move on with your career and actually try to be a productive player for us.
and so the game theory in this one, because Philly's defense is good, right? Like it's been the strength of their team this year so far. How much of that do you do you really just associate, right, and attribute to Joel? Because as you said, right, like it's a lot of it, right? It's a lot. So Brooklyn's 113.5 again feels a little bit safer. I know Philly really only needs to score 105 to come along. Brooklyn's own, defensive rating isn't like in the toilet where it was last year, at close to like 28th, 27th. It's at least top 20, serviceable enough. I think the reemergence, whatever you want to call Ben Simmons' recent surge in success has a lot to do with it, right? And he's been flying around a lot more in a good way for them. That shows confidence individually for his defensive rating over the course of the last couple of games, back down to like 107. The guy that you want him to be in terms of the stopper, and the shots that he's taking, right? Like, I don't know, man, you don't got to worry about taking shots. You're a 6'10" power, or, point guard, power forward, whatever. Like, why do you have to be able to shoot? The issue is who's on the floor with you, right? Yuta Watanabe, by the way, shout out, recent surge in his points. 3-point shooting is really what it matters for him, and why he's probably going to continue to get a few more minutes. I checked, his props are not available anywhere right now. I hope that changes in the very near future, because I think he's a crucial guy for them. As Seth Curry's and Joe Harris have struggled mightily so far, but Watanabe is at least able to make some threes for them, and that's what really matters, right? Because KD also hasn't been shooting the ball super well from three. That hasn't been his game. You're going to see Kyrie come back and probably be, the majority of the threes that they put up should be coming from him. Occasionally, Royce O'Neal's been getting a lot of corner threes as well, and has been good. He's been a little bit underwhelming on offense, but you know what you're getting with Royce. So that's another reason their defense is a little bit better, is him. So you got to keep him on the floor as well. And he's been able to stay on with Nick Claxton as well, which helps them when they need size. So things are turning around a bit for them. If it's really wild how contingent it is upon Ben Simmons' ability to be a serviceable and like above average NBA player. So I'm following your theory on that one. I don't want to touch the spread here at 8. I feel scared a little bit, as you mentioned, and it also does, like, if Philly is able to cover, it's because this game is at like 108, 104 or something like that, right? Like, it's not like they're going to be covering, in my opinion, like 122 to 117 or something to that effect, right? This is not a roster that can get you that amount of points right now with the amount of injuries that they have, and the guys that are going to be mostly handling the ball at this point, right? Like, for them, it's going to be about D'Anthony Melton really needing the ball in his hands the whole time, because I don't know who else you feel comfortable with. I mean, Shake and D'Anthony are your guards, and once they come out, do you want Danwell House running your offense alongside Matisse Thybulle? Like, I don't know how you generate points off of that unless you're playing solid defense enough to turn that into turnovers, turn that into fast break points. They've done that occasionally. It's interesting. It's like when Embiid's on the floor, it's all about just make sure that when we get down, he touches the ball at least once. When Embiid's not on the floor, it's all about get the ball down the floor immediately, because James Harden hasn't been there to control the offense either, which means it's been a Tyrese Maxey led offense in that regard, right? And that's taken on the pace has increased for them, which, by the way, both these teams play at such a slow pace that I don't know if that's going to be the case tonight. That's not the team that they're putting on the floor for the 76ers. It probably will be a little bit more of that Daryl Morey style offense with the guys that they have in there. Shoot a lot of threes, put Niang and PJ Tucker in as your bigs and put them in the corner. Paul Reed gets the occasional rim running play, right, with D'Anthony Melton or Shake, and that's pretty much your offense for Philly. And so I feel better about Brooklyn being able to like handle that. I do think they're going to win this game tonight. I don't know. They scare me in the 8.5 points. The 217 scares me because of Philly's ability to come along. So it is a little bit of a stay away, but it's at least worth talking about, because if you want to get a money line or any kind of bet where Brooklyn is favored by, let's say, like 2 or 3, that I feel a lot better about them covering.
I just think back to when someone asked KD after they crushed Philly in Philly on March 10th last year, and, did it factor in that Ben Simmons was on the bench? He said, absolutely. We wanted to win for Ben. We wanted to bolster his confidence. We wanted to crush his former team, and they came out, and it was 40-23 in the first quarter. It was never a game after that. So, I mean, and they have every advantage in the world right now in this matchup. So now with Ben on the floor, they're going to bolster his confidence. And I think, to your point, how are they going to do that? Keep up the pace, right? Because he can't score in the half court necessarily unless there's a breakdown.
True.
which, with Kyrie out there now, there will be a lot of breakdowns because that's what he does. With PJ Tucker guarding Durant, probably, there's going to be not a great defender on Simmons individually, and without Embiid, there's not great rim protection. So I think, the Nets were 104 pace in this last game against the Grizz. I think they're willing to ramp that up for sure. The Sixers, even though they don't have Maxey, you look at their last 7 without Embiid, 114 points per game. And they tend to otherwise play around 108, 107 with a slower pace. I wonder, if they can keep up that pace to a degree, if they can get some pick and roll action going with Montrezl Harrell, get him going. I mean, I do worry about them coming along, so I think I would bet the Nets over, before the spread. But yeah, like I said, my money is on Ben Simmons, if only for the entertainment factor of let's see him go out there and play the heel and stick it to these Philly fans.
I'm with it, Dr. Revenge. I'm coming along for that. And I got to say, his props don't seem to have come along with how far we think he's already progressed this season, right? 10.5 points is what it should have been all season. I think at this point, he's going to be starting to get closer to that 15 a game, 8 boards, 6 assists, in that range. If he's in that range, dude, then this is a team to actually be reckoned with to a degree, because you've got the Swiss Army knife that you've wanted around Kyrie and KD. And that's a scary thought if it works out the way that they had intended originally. So let's see how many points they put up tonight. Let's see the style of play that they're able to use. I do think before we start giving this team any flowers and starting to ride it to the end of the season, let's see what they do in a situation like tonight. That's going to be sluggish. That's not going to be necessarily the way they want to play, and they're going to have to sort of overcome some of that stuff. But that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we're bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.